right now, we have the world famous Paul Preston. Maybe, so I have to keep talking. He's getting his slideshow ready. I don't know what he's talking about. He never talks about what he's supposed to. But it will be important. Ready? All right. There you go, Paul Preston. In the news.
Okay, specific assignment was to talk about FEMA camps.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah. But first of all, I'll take any questions you might have, anything that relates to what you just heard from Jason that I can add on to, like the big picture stuff, what is happening, where we're going as a country, that sort of thing. Anybody have any questions on that? Oz?
Yeah, Paul, I was wondering what you feel is the reason that Dianne Feinstein came out with that report now? What is being covered up that we're not seeing?
The CIA report and all the stuff that you're seeing right now is basically sleight of hand with the administration. I mean, and Feinstein's in on it, McCain's in on it. What they're trying to do, hasn't anybody ever asked the question, why Obama drones everybody? Why does Obama drone everybody instead of capturing them, taking them to Gitmo, and then getting valuable information from them?
They got information on him.
I mean, has anybody ever thought about that? He's a mass murderer. He kills more people with drones than George Bush could have ever thought of doing. And you know, drones are not a clean way to kill people, because they kill a lot of innocent civilians along with them. You know, you might be able to get the target you want, but what you're going to do is get a lot of collateral damage. So basically, it's sleight of hand trying to protect the fact that what Obama is doing is killing off people who might talk about him.
Stop the gun running.
Let's think about that.
I don't know why people haven't got impeachment against this guy.
Now, that's another issue, I understand. But dead men tell no stories. You see, the Muslim Brotherhood, who Obama is aligned with, he kills them off so they won't talk. If we capture them, what are they going to do? They're going to talk about him. So why not kill everybody else off so that they're, dead men don't tell any tales? And Feinstein knows that. You know, everybody was in on this whole deal before. They all knew about this. They all knew about this intelligence gathering. So why trot it out now? And the reason why to trot it out now is to discourage all Americans and to make us look bad in the entire world. And then call in the UN. You're going to start hearing more calls for the UN. UN. Treaty, there it is right there. They're trying to play off all that. So you see, it is an important question, but they're all in on it. Dianne Feinstein, what does she want to do with you, with us, all of us? See, well, it's not only that. She wants to get rid of all of our amendments. First Amendment, Second Amendment for sure. She's working overtime. So, for her to come across with this kind of report now, it's nothing but theater. Everybody's known this information. Nothing's new. The timing is designed to tell the rest of the world how bad we are. And of course, to try and get some sort of moral equivalency to what, if you want to talk about how bad we are, what about beheading 1-year-old babies? I've seen those pictures. They are actually doing that. Now, how do we get from CIA waterboarding to beheading babies And the UN is telling us how evil we are. Now Korea's doing it. Imagine that. I mean, you know what Kim Il-jung does to his friends? You know what he does? He shoots them, and then he slices them up and feeds them to dogs. He did that to his fiancée. And he's telling us to be morally equivalent. You see, this is all a stage, it's all theatrics, and it's designed to discourage all of us. It's not going to work. You know, you got to stick with the truth, and you know what the truth is. It's like Cheney said, you know, how do you have moral equivalency with these beheadings when you talk about people who died, 3,000 people at one time, died in the Twin Trade Towers? It's just not there. But what is the mindset that the media is trying to drive? See what I'm saying? But it's not working. I don't think it's working. It's not working on my radio show. That's all important to me. So, another question?
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I think everybody's thinking the same thing, and I'm really discouraged. I thought, you know, I went out and got all my friends to vote, and well, we got our way. We got the Senate majority for the Republican conservatives, and we got the House. The question I want to ask you, why did Boehner do what he do? Why did he cave in, and why did he sign that $1 trillion for Obama for a whole year?
9 months.
So what hope have we got? We all hoped that we could get control of the Senate. We had the House of Representatives and gained it by what, another 20-some seats, yet that sucker caved in. Now, is there a reason that we don't know? Could you explain that to me, why Boehner would do that? Only 2 weeks away from,
Yeah, just 3 weeks away, right.
why?
No, I'll tell you why. The fix is in.
The plan.
The fix is in and it's been planned. The fix is in there. And, you know, this I think maybe is the extension of the fix. What we have to do is call them on it now, big time. The one big group of people they fear the most is the group in this room. They just cannot stand us. And they're gonna do everything they can to shut us up. It's not working. They do not have command of the media like they used to. People are listening to the alternative media. 60+% now get their news and information from newsstream media. You know, through the internet and the apps and all that other stuff. They aren't listening to the mainstream media.
But what do we do for a whole year? What,
9 months.
they funded it till next September,
Right,
right?
9
So
months.
Obama's got a free will with $1 trillion some odd
Right.
dollars. He's gonna
And-
fund his 10,000 people illegals to come in here.
What, 10,000?
I mean, 10 million. They say right now we got 91 million Americans not working, and he's gonna bring in 10 million more,
Right.
and they're not gonna work.
Well, let me ask you this. A year ago, did you know those numbers? That you just repeated?
Well,
Were you aware of those
I didn't know
numbers?
the 91 million not working. I
So
knew
you
about-
weren't, listen, a year ago you were not, and I'm not trying to
No, I
put you
know.
down, I'm just trying to make a point with the bigger group here. How many of you knew that number last year existed? See, not many of you, how many know now? Just today, well, that's fine, but you know what, you come to the Tea Party to find that out. What's the unemployment rate in America?
The real or published?
The real. No, I don't go by the published 5.8% business, that's a bunch of garbage. It's upwards of 20%.
At least,
California's sitting at 18. These are people who have just given up on their job. This is everybody. So that's the real unemployment rate. Okay, now you know that. But my point is this, you didn't know it a year ago, now you do know it. And they didn't want you to know it even today. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now you know it, and now you're ticked. And now, hopefully, you're gonna take that next step and call these people. Get engaged, get involved, do something. And encourage others to get involved. This is the sea change that we wanna see happen right now. I'm really thrilled about a lot of things that are happening, actually. You realize that for the first time in at least 6 years, they actually had a debate on the floor of the House and the Senate. Did you know that? There was actually some deliberation going on in the Senate. Holy moly, are you kidding me?
One question I wanted to ask you though.
Sure.
Do you think Baynard has some kind of a plan, or is he a turncoat?
You know, I'm really, I'm not even 50-50 on Boehner like I used to be. You know, I'm probably more like 80% against and 24, but I am for Michael Steele, who is his aide, his top aide underneath him. You know, he's the first go-to guy that he's got. And Michael Steele is the guy who ran the 2010 election and was run out by the Rhino Republicans like Rance Priebus and that group. I have a lot of faith in him, but I don't with Boehner.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get Baynard out, right? He's gonna stay in for at least another year.
You know, I don't know. That might change. You just have to, I think we just have to wait and see what the change is gonna be. But it's gonna be criticism from us going forward that's gonna put pressure on them, and they've got the pressure.
Well, somebody said to me, a pretty smart fellow that watches politics thinks that
Smarter than me.
yeah, but Obama and Boehner are actually buddies.
Oh, of course they are. Yeah. Yes, power and control. I don't trust any of them that are up there. But I really don't trust the Rhino Republicans. And the Rhino Republicans, if you take a look and look at the list all the way down, they've got some sort of connection to Wall Street people or to the Saudis. And that's where our problem is. Grover Norquist, his biggest client is Saudi Arabia.
And that's why we need term limits. We need them
No, we don't. We need people finding out who these people are and doing deep research on them, which is what we're doing with the New Stream Media. They don't want this information out. They don't want it out, but here it is.
balanced budget.
Republican in name only. R-I-N-O. Question back there? What was the question? Yes, sir.
Doesn't Boehner realize though that in 2 years, if he doesn't do what the people want, 2 years, the house is gonna go back down tight?
You know, there's a couple of things that we need to kind of get a grip on. One is that there is an agenda driven by other people besides the citizens of the United States. And those people are deeply involved in Washington, and we're talking about, as I call them, the three pillars of totalitarianism: communist, National Socialists, and Islamists. Those are the three pillars of totalitarians. And they are deeply involved, and we can get into things like United Nations Agenda 21, FEMA camps and things like that. Those are the drivers right now of what we're doing in our country. We have been asleep at the switch for a long time. But we've been deliberately dumbed down by a media that has been controlled by these people. That's the mainstream media. George Soros owns ABC, CBS, and NBC. He just owns them. You know, it's complete corruption with those people. Now, don't you just love what's happening to Sony right now? I mean, Sony's being hacked by North Korea. They hacked into all their emails and all of Sony pictures. So all the stars, you know, look, guys, when I write emails, I keep one thing in mind. What does that E stand for? No, evidence. Evidence mail. So when you write your next email, I want you to think, who's this going to go to? People always, you know, they tell me, you don't put much in your email. No, I don't. I know about evidence mail. But there, you know, so you had Mr. Dear Father, Dear Leader, I guess his name is. Yeah, Dear Leader. They hacked into the, so you guys didn't hear about this. I must not have covered it now. They hacked into the Sony Pictures database last week. And because they didn't like the movie that was coming out about Dear Leader, right? The new movie that's coming out.
Yep.
So they got all these different surprises. They got all the information from all the stars. In fact, they've got their names and addresses, their W-2 forms, they've got all their tax information, and they're just swapping it around the internet right now. Angela Jolie. Identity theft? Talk about identity theft. But you know, they're finding out some interesting information. The co-chair of Sony. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
She was swapping emails out with one of the producers about what kind of movies Mr. Obama might prefer. Django Unchained, things like that. I mean, completely racist. So here you have Sony Pictures, which is the largest collectively contributor to the Obama campaign, and you're getting all these racist comments being made by the top leadership. Don't you hate it when a good plan comes together? I mean, you know, but they have to worry about stuff like this because their donor base is going to dry up. You know, there's a lot of things they have to worry about right now, and you are one of the big problems for them. Seriously. The fact you're here, you're hearing this, you're going out and telling other people, and they're looking at you like, are you from Mars? Is that tinfoil hat syndrome you got, right? You know, I hope you have more of that. But yeah, I mean, when you find out the truth behind these people, and the truth is not far to find out either, then all of a sudden it's a different issue. Boehner, I think he's going to meet his Waterloo. I really believe that.
How many years has he been in office?
Too damn long.
Since
Too many.
91.
91?
Term limits, he would have been out, and if we had balanced budget, we wouldn't have had either of the problems that you're talking about.
Well,
I know that's controversial.
the budget is what my concern. How about just having a budget? Just basic stuff like this. We haven't had a budget in this country for 7 years. I don't know if you knew that or not. See, now you know that. So you're gonna call Mr. What's the Democrat's name that beat Logue? What's his name? Garamendi. Why don't you go down and demand Mr. Garamendi give you the answers as to why he's not working for a budget in the House? Because he's done nothing. He's our representative.
Yeah, but
right?
he's in Congress. It's the Senate that's held up the budget.
Well, you know, he is a voice you can talk to, right? He's your representative. He can make the Senate feel that. The point is get there and get the information out. Yeah.
I've tried to talk to him and they.
He doesn't like you, Thomas. He doesn't like you.
Well, I know that.
You stand, when you try to talk, you gotta have some skills, buddy. You stand there talking with him, and you got that big sign saying, Garamendi, you are a communist. He's probably not gonna talk to
He walked off
you. Sorry, no, I couldn't read. That's what he does. I don't know if you guys know that story. He's gonna have to tell you sometime. Big sign, communist. He called it like it is. Okay, any other, next question? Next, come on now.
Yeah, is
Oz is up.
John Brennan, is he actually an avowed Muslim?
He absolutely is.
I mean, I know he is, I just want everybody else to know.
Okay, did you all know that?
Yeah.
Since 1996, he converted as a CIA station chief in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
And there's a piece in the New York Times today. It just came out. I tried to get it up on my website this morning, but I just ran out of time. About the close relationship that John Brennan has with President Obama. It is such a sweet, sweet article. It makes you really kind of wonder. But the relationship that Mr. Brennan has is a very unique one to him. And you know, remember Brennan worked as one of the station chiefs and high monkey mucks with the CIA during the Bush administration. I don't know if you're aware of that. And like I said, he converted in 1996. And when Obama became president, he became his chief security agent for terrorism, his advisor on terrorism. And it was Mr. Brennan and his black ops programs that started bringing in arms from Sutter, supplied and paid for by you and I, into Libya, to Al-Qaeda, paid for by the money. We switched teams back then. I don't know if you guys know that. We are the terrorist team. We have to get over that. We are the terrorists. How many knew that? Or figured it out? It's nice to figure it out. I mean, really, because you have to kind of intellectually work through this. This is known by everybody in the security business. The politicians know this. They're lying to you if they say no. They all know this. Claire Lopez, who was at the Liberty Tour, CIA agent. You've seen her on Glenn Beck and other places. She broke it open, along with Major General Paul Vallely, when they set up the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. And their report came out April 15th of this year and blew the lid right off Obama. It was John Brennan who was organizing these guns to be run to Libya. It was going to be, now this is really going to connect the dots. Benghazi was, of course, run, and it was Christopher Stevens who worked for who? The State Department. He wasn't CIA. Those guns were being smuggled by way of the State Department into Syria and into Al-Qaeda. That Al-Qaeda group became known as ISIS. I call them Al-Qaeda 3.0. I don't want you to become confused, but that's the chain of events that took place. And Benghazi was a capstone event. You had a lot of people wanting to shut that operation down. And they wanted to shut down somebody who knew information. Remember what I said about dead men don't tell any tales? Christopher Stevens is not telling any tales. See, you see how vulnerable Hillary is? Get it? So this is all good. Can you, and again, I love doing this. Can you imagine her sitting down in the House Select Committee with Trey Gowdy getting ready to answer class questions? I'm just waiting for that. She'll come in her nice green coat, all dressed up in Al-Qaeda colors, like she did the last time. Talk about a sign of disrespect to all of America when she showed up in that green coat at the Senate Select Committee on Benghazi. Go back and look at it. She showed up in the colors of Al-Qaeda, in the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, FEMA camps. They're around. FEMA camps are designed to basically, anytime there's supposed, I'll give you a very short version of it. Anytime there's supposed to be a mass evacuation or emergency, we're all supposed to go to the nice little FEMA camps. Unless you opt out, like Jason says. I'm opting out. I'm opting out. But these camps are all around the nation. They've been selectively placed. FEMA is divided up into 10 regions throughout the nation. We are in Region 9. Region 9 is Arizona, Nevada, and California. FEMA camps are designed when civil disobedience breaks out, when there's war, when there's riots, when there's earthquakes, when there's natural disasters, and people need to go someplace. They're not going to go to the Superdome in New Orleans and end up like they're supposed to get like that, like we saw in those pictures. The problem is, there's a bigger plan for these FEMA camps. How many have heard this before? The possibility of bigger plans for FEMA camps. There's I think, how do I put this? It's a lot like Nazis, yeah. It's basically, yeah, I guess you would say it's like the Roach Hotel. You're gonna get in and you're not gonna get out. The staging of this has actually been going on for some time. For at least since about 2005 and around the Katrina time. The staging of material, of various camps being established and set up is ongoing in these different regions. And they are designed to hold hundreds of thousands of people at a time. I can't give you the exact locations, I can give you some, and they are documented on the internet, and I'd be pulling up some right now, but these are the primary places in which you would find FEMA camps. You'd find them around military bases. You would find them around any deserted military base. You would find them around former prisons or active prisons that have, listen to this, had their population reduced. Sound like California when we went through the reduction. See, they're getting ready for something. To me, the big clue is the ammunition. Because all these governmental organizations have bought up so much ammunition, we've never seen anything like this, ever, and it's all hollow point. You guys understand the significance of that?
Target practice.
Yeah. Hollow point? Where's Jason when you need him? Oh, there he is. It's a self-defense round, and basically it explodes in your body and doesn't penetrate and go past, as opposed to a full metal jacket round. It's a great killer, right? And the number of rounds that they have been buying is, we've never witnessed this in our history as a nation.
Well, one thing you might wanna pick up on, Paul, is that hollow point rounds aren't even used in war. They're not a Geneva Convention approved round. But our government's buying them by the hundreds of thousands of millions.
Because they know we're gonna fight back.
But they will not use them in war,
Yeah.
and they're a devastating round. What does everybody carry in their CCW? What do our cops carry? Hollow point bullets. Bonded hollow point bullets, what they've been buying, which is the absolute most expensive round you can buy, is a bonded hollow point bullet. It'll go through windshields, and it won't expand, it'll still keep its jacket on, and it will still, then whenever it hits something soft tissue, then it will expand. It's no joke, what they're messing with.
Yeah, this is, I mean,
It's
people,
unprecedented. We've never
if you, now that you've gotten this education, you can see the seriousness with which we are discussing this. They're out buying weapons of mass destruction, basically to be used on us, because, you know, it was President Obama who said that what we have to do is we have to have a citizens military within our own country that's the equivalent to our own military outside. Now, when did he declare war on us? Then you had the NDAA come along and we got rid of posse comitatus. Now they can pick us up and hold us indefinitely. Did you know that? Except we're in California. Tim Donnelly, I can't remember the bill number last year, he got it passed, that said in California that California government will not comply with any NDAA request. Did you know that? Tim Donnelly did that. We had Dan Johnson at our conference twice. And he's with PANDA, People Against the NDAA. People Against the NDAA. He's 21 years old. He's got hundreds of thousands of Americans around the nation that he's working with to get cities and county organizations to tell the feds they're not going to comply with NDAA, and it's working. Albany, New York was one of the big ones that they did. See, there's people that are working over 21-year-old homeschool kid, snot nose, as Clevin Bundy called him. He did this constantly in front of the camera at the conference. Then Clevin gets up, well, that snot-nosed kid. But, yeah, these are things we need to be aware of. And if you've never heard of these things, I guarantee you're probably gonna go home and start checking it out on the internet or some other place. Larry?
The other thing is, besides the camps and the ammo, is the coffins. They have
Right.
tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of coffins.
Yeah, that's the other thing, it's a
Camps.
telltale sign. It's a telltale sign that something might be happening. They're making coffin covers or containers by the hundreds of thousands and have been amassing them since 2006 from a couple of plants, one of them in Georgia. I had on my show last week a guest who lived not too far from this plant, who actually went to the plant and watched them making these coffins. And they're coffin covers. But the plan is that they will hold more than one or two bodies. They're so big. Now, they have been planted in various parts of this country. All in Texas, they have them. Here in California, we have them. Also, weapons caches have been pre-planted in warehouses. This might be real big news to some people. It's not with me and with my people that talk to me. And I said to them, I was talking to one of them, I said, I'm going to talk to this group. Should I say that? And they said, absolutely. We're talking about large masses of weapons in warehouses around California. I know of 2 exact locations, both in Southern California. Yes?
Why would they bother to bury us in coffins? Why wouldn't they just incinerate
They
us?
cremated them.
Yeah.
That's it. Drag you in.
Yeah, well,
I think that's the ultimate end game, yes.
They're
They wanna be
cremated.
sure.
Right, but why would they bother to put you in a coffin?
It's a
I think it's more of a
cremation.
handling thing. No, I think it's more of a handling thing than anything else, and they're looking at efficiencies. Because where these places are, where they have these stored by various military bases and so on, is they're right next to rail lines
Forklifts.
or airstrips. Large airstrips, yes.
I want to make a little comment. My folks were born in Germany. My dad went through World War I and left Germany just before World War II. And you know, it really gets me because we've had a lot of German friends come over and we talk about, I ask a lot of questions. And here's what I wanna tell you. In Germany, they were talking the same way we are here tonight. Oh, Hitler will never kill us. Hitler will never do this. They thought Hitler was like Obama. Hope and change. Okay, I'm gonna make a long story short. Once Hitler got to guns, it really changed. Now let me tell you this, let me tell you how he got to guns, because you're sitting here tonight saying, he'll never get my gun, it'll be out of my dead hand. You hear that all the time, you'll get that gun out of my dead hand. Let me tell you how they did it in Germany. This, I'm telling you a fact. What they did is they passed a law, Hitler did. You had so many days to turn in your weapon. At the end of that period, if you didn't turn in your weapon, if they caught you with the weapon, you had some, well, you probably went to the death camp. But what they also did, and this is where the United Nations coming in with this fund.
Right.
What they did in Germany, if your neighbor turned you in because you had a gun, he got X number of dollars.
Right.
And you know what? It worked. People started turning in their guns. My grandfather cut a beam inside the house and he put a Luger rifle and he cut a beam out with ammunition, put it in there and sealed it all up so that at least they did have one gun. But we're sitting around here talking the same way they did in Germany, and look what happened. So what I'm asking you here tonight is, to what point, when Obama or the United Nations seizes your guns, what are we going to do? We're going to do like the Germans did and just hand them over and then be slaughtered? Because this is all falling into place with your death camps. You call them what you want. Their death camps is what they're going to put you in. The Tea Party are going to be the first ones they round up.
Let me kind of square up with that, because you bring up a very good point. But let's talk about the difference between the Germans then and Americans today, and how you say that one person's going to turn in another one. I know how that worked. I was over in Germany in 1992 and sat down with several Stasi people for some information, which was kind of, you know, the secret police, which is actually, back in the day, one of them was actually a Gestapo member. And I'm familiar with how they operate. That's the kind of operational stuff. But we have a Second Amendment right in this country they did not have in Germany. And that's the point that we have to make to everybody. I make it every single day on my radio show. I talk about the Constitution, I talk about the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and what's keeping this country together are those three things right now.
We know, listen, we know that. We all know
Right.
that. But if Obama, the Republican Party, is caving in, I mean, Boehner is caving in, who's going to protect the Second Amendment? Who?
Trey Gowdy.
Who?
You know, and listen, I'm hearing you.
So what's the question I'm asking you, as a big group, when they come for your guns, are you going to fight, or are you going to hand the guns in? Because that's where it was in Germany.
Right. And I think from this group, at least, I am not gonna hand over my guns. That's just not happening. It is not happening. I don't care what, and what's gonna happen. I can see this happening with this whole UN Small Arms Treaty, because what's there to hold him? Oh, he's already signed it. What does he need a Senate for to confirm it? He's so lawless now, right? So I'm just expecting the order in the next several weeks, because it's after the 24th and we're not gonna comply, and he's gonna bring in the troops. And the word that I've heard is they're gonna bring in Russian and Chinese troops. Some of them are already here. It's still not, this is what I think we need to be doing, is focusing on those rhinos, focusing on those people that are actually destroying us, getting as much attention on them as possible, which is what I try and do every single day.
Well,
And what you guys can too.
We thought we did with the last election.
But we can't give up. We sent a message. We can't. If you want to take the route that, yeah, that's it. Here's my gun. Take me off the camp.
Nobody said that here tonight.
I know, and I don't want that talk going on, because that's not what we Americans
That's right.
do.
So the question I ask you, when the government passes a law, which Obama can just, like you said, sign it, we're
Right.
going to take the
Ignore
guns.
it.
We're going to take the guns.
Well, here's his problem. I want to throw this in here. He needs bodies to do that.
Right.
And he found out with the Clive and Bundy situation He doesn't, and the Oath Keepers, he doesn't have the bodies internally to do that. You know, that civilian army he wanted to build by arming all these executive divisions? Those guys don't know how to fire a gun. They weren't gonna walk up with any kind of cojones and say, give me your gun, from an American to blow his head off, just like they almost did several times in the Bundy Ranch. That's what they met. And I'm telling you, they made a conscious decision then. And some of my sources have told me they have made that decision. They cannot make that, they cannot depend upon that whole scenario to go down. They're gonna have to depend on people from the outside. And that's where you're starting to hear now this terminating, or across the border,
So
right?
you think if he
So our
passed the
sheriff's
law,
not gonna come in and take our guns.
if he passed the law, you don't think that 90% or 80% of the Americans would not turn in their gun?
Okay, but here's the problem that everybody's missing, and this is something that
Great conversation, by the way.
that I've looked at a lot, and this is something everybody needs to wrap their head around. It's not gonna be a shortage of weapons. It's gonna be a shortage of patriots who will pick up a weapon. And you hit it right on the head with 80%, 90%. You're gonna have 3% of the people who will say, you know what, enough is enough, and I'm gonna pick up a weapon and use it. The shortage of weapons is not gonna be there, people. It's not gonna be a shortage of guns.
You know
It's
what,
gonna be a shortage of people who know how to use them and will actually pick one up.
This is our response. This is our response, and I think maybe we forgot this discussion, but it's a response I bring out on the radio, and which nobody ever talks about. Just listen to my radio, I'll tell you everything I know. But when Obama and Feinstein got together and wanted to push through, you know, the Second Amendment, blocking the Second Amendment, taking our guns the first time around the Sandy Hook time, right? 2-year anniversary yesterday, by the way. What were they trying to do? Take away our AR-15s. What did we do as a country? What was our response? This is what we Americans did to them, right there. And you know what? We went right to the camera. We went out, I'll stand over here. Any more hand signs coming up. Americans went out and bought more ammunition and more guns than ever before. Just over the Thanksgiving holiday, people, I mean, I'm sorry they're not here, but everything was off the shelves. People were buying more guns and more ammunition. Now, what do you think we Americans are gonna do with that?
Use them.
What
You see what I'm
percent
saying?
of, what percent of the population actually fought the Revolutionary War out of the colonies?
3%.
3%.
3%.
Exactly. So here we stand,
We are the 3%.
here we stand.
Yep.
And how many of us are gonna get on the cattle cars willingly?
Nah.
It's gonna be a training.
Well, you'll get on the cattle car when you got a SS with machine guns, you'll die right there, or you'll get on the.
I'll die standing, not kneeling.
My relatives, listen, my relatives
Go ahead.
watched it happen.
I understand.
And you might think here, oh, this guy's just a crackpot.
No?
My relatives watched it happen, and the first thing Hitler had to do was get the guns, just like Feinstein and Boxer and all the rest of them wanted
And you
to
know-
do.
Except they're not gonna get our guns.
Yes, they are. What are they doing?
One
You
of the
can't
groups
have a
of
dog
people-
to hunt bear anymore. You can't do this, hunt this no more. All these rules and regulations just keep coming down. Now you're not gonna have, you can't have lead, you can't have lead to hunt with anymore. Lead's gonna be what, 2016, lead's outlawed.
Right.
They can't get what they can't find.
Well, you can't
The
buy
young
bullets.
lady behind you has a
I'm
question.
gonna say if it's against the
Vacuum package.
Constitution, then just don't do it.
There you go.
Right.
That's it.
Well, you see, here's the problem with Obama, is that he hasn't seen lawless Americans. And I gotta tell you, when we're lawless, we're a different group of people with guns. And, you know, and I'm saying lawless in the sense that we're ignoring his law. I always promote being lawful and doing the right thing lawfully and morally. But when it comes to something that's illegal, you know, people stand and swear and take an oath. And in that oath, they support and protect and defend the Constitution, not Obama.
Okay.
Yes, Larry?
One thing keep in mind, 3% of the hunters in the United States, all of the hunters with rifles, 3% is the largest army on earth. 3% of the US
Actually, I think it's the whole hunters, all the hunters in the United States are bigger than any army outside, not just 3%.
No, 3%, or what you're talking about, there were 4 states they listed.
Oh, okay.
It was Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and Indiana. Those 4 states outnumbered
Bigger than any
any
standing
army on earth.
Well,
And
didn't,
if you took 3% of all of the United States.
isn't our army
That's
supposed to
Stephanie,
protect the
Stephanie.
Constitution of the
It's a
United
rowdy
States?
group.
They'll do
No? Huh?
The
Put your
NRA,
guns away.
people like us will.
We learned a lot. His friends and relatives in Crimea, he said when they got their independence from the Russian, they collected all of their guns because they were to provide safety. They had no choice. And we see what happens when Russia comes and they have absolutely no weapons, no nothing.
Good discussion.
And they're caving. He says that there's 3 provinces around there. The blood and guts, we're not hearing anything about it, but it started with no guns. We're gonna protect you.
Right.
But there was no choice, and they didn't have, they were previously communists, so they didn't have the connections that we do in the free speech.
Well, you know, it's interesting that Senator Obama visited the Ukraine and helped the Ukrainians get rid of the weapons when he was there. Just thought I'd throw that one out. Yes, sir.
One of the groups of people that will stand up for us, and we need to back, because they're under attack right now, is law enforcement.
Right. Yeah, there's 2 things, and I don't know if the guy was here that, is tonight, anybody, I had a little discussion with the guy last week, 2 weeks ago. And we were talking about Ferguson and talking about what happened with Officer Wilson. And there's 2 things going on there. There is what actually happened realistically that the left is saying didn't happen, you know, to the Officer Ferguson. Then there's protecting Officer Ferguson. And then there's the protecting of the greater police force and what they're doing. But the problem that we saw with Ferguson, with that particular police force, and Dan Johnson will support it, is that they were completely manipulated, just like you saw with the National Guard the night that they announced, you know, what the outcome of the grand jury was. They were told to stand down. Well, that's a staged event, I'm sorry. That was completely staged. They set that up for all that rioting.
They came out in prime time also.
Yep, 9 o'clock, right prime time, nice cold night, you can see those orange flames. I mean, it's just all staged, Tom.
The local police in Ferguson were behind the oath keepers that were protecting property there. Okay, until the federal government got their nose in it and told the leadership of the sheriff's department or police department to get rid of those oath keepers. So the local police standing behind the people, that's up in the air.
No, that is up in the air, and this is, you know, we're having to, you know, push and find some different things, and I can tell you that it was really touch and go, obviously, with the Bundy situation, and the person that really was responsible for making that stick was Chris Ann Hall. A little back story to that. But oath keepers need to be empowered to know that they are that fine line. And we need to make sure our sheriffs always know that. They always know that they are that fine line, and, you know, they can say yes or no. And then their problem, then, you know, they become the problem. We don't want that. You know, we don't want that, yeah.
Where did the oath keepers come from? Who's doing that?
Well, it was Sheriff Richard Mack. He's president of the Oath Keepers, and the Oath Keepers are groups of sheriffs around the country. What's the guy from Milwaukee, the sheriff?
No, you're thinking of the CSPOA.
Yeah.
Oath keepers is Stuart Rhodes.
Stuart Rhodes.
Okay, Stuart Rhodes.
Ex-military, ex-police, ex-fire, ex-ambulance, any emergency services, I'm an oath keeper.
So CSOPA, Richard Mack's president of.
Right.
What's that?
Okay, all right.
What's that?
That's the Constitutional Sheriff's Association.
Right.
Okay.
So when you take an oath to protect and defend, this is fundamentally how it works. Protect and defend the Constitution. You don't take an oath to protect and defend the rules of President Obama. And right now, I can tell you where it's really working overtime, where people who have taken an oath and are ignoring what they're being told are the Border Patrol.
Yes.
They're absolutely ignoring orders coming from Jay Johnson, who's another big problem. And of course, Eric Holder. And then there's Al Sharpton. And then President Obama. I call them the bigot brothers.
Trifecta.
Question? Oh, it's 9:15. Larry wants to quit.
It's happy hour.
Okay, I don't think I have any, I mean, I could go another 3 hours, but, you know, I'm a radio guy. Listen to the show.
That's why we need to listen to your show.
That's right, it's on right now. You got 45 more minutes to listen to it, 14:10 a.m. Go to my social media. I know the signal fades off out there. Stick around for another 45 minutes out in the parking lot.
What's that?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Larry's talking about it now, we're doing some stuff with the Glad Tidings Church.